Greetings, this is Jim Lindsay. This is a CIS 320 tutorial over the LinkedIn hands-on project. And so I want to walk you through the hands-on project. There are several different parts to this, and so I want to just give you an idea of what to do when, and as a result of that, it should be pretty easy. I have the instructions open in front of you. You'll see this is a Word document, and you'll see that this project is a 10-step project, and the purpose of this is to teach you about the LinkedIn website. This is a personal information technology that has grown in importance more and more every year, and so this is something that I feel, especially in a personal information technology class, we have to cover this. It would be crazy not to. And so I want to teach you what the site, what the LinkedIn website is, and I also want to teach you how to use it. Then I want you to, after using it and connecting with other people and doing all the sorts of things that you do with LinkedIn, I then want you to do some reflection and a little bit of research, and then report back to me on the entire experience. And so that's the purpose of this project. So in the hands-on portion, you actually create an account for yourself. Not actually for yourself. You create an account for a fictitious person, and then you pretend to be that person in LinkedIn. I will show you at the end. There's a table at the end of this document, at the instructions here. That's my dog. That lists your real name, and then a character's name, which I just made up, and a job, which I made up, and a location, which I made up, that you get to use as your identity for this project. Why do we do this with fictitious stuff instead of real stuff? Well, some of you use LinkedIn already, but many of you don't, and you may not be good at it yet. And so by using this fictional person, this fictional identity, you can get good at it. Now when you're done with that, you can turn around and start to put this to work for yourself in the real world. So this gives you a place to learn and not make any goofy mistakes, because more than likely you're going to use this at work. So that's why we cover it. It's the purpose of the whole project. How do you do it? Well, let's kind of step through these 10 steps here. And I'm not going to tell you about all of them. I'm just going to get you started, because the instructions for most of this stuff are provided elsewhere, and I'll show you where those instructions are provided. First, you need a Microsoft Word document, and you need to call that, whatever your real name is, LinkedIn documentation. And at the conclusion of this project, this hands-on project, you're going to submit that to me, and that will help me grade your work. Without that documentation file, this is very difficult to grade. LinkedIn and Twitter and any sort of social media account, what somebody else can see differs usually than what you see. And by having you create this documentation file with screenshots, I can get verification that you have indeed done the things I've asked you to do. I tried this the first time I tried this several years ago. I didn't know that, and so people tried to turn in projects, and it was like, oh man, I couldn't go and check it because I didn't realize that what I was going to see was going to be so drastically different than what they would see. And so that's the purpose of this documentation file. So you just create a Word document, and like I said, you put your real name. So if you are Susan Jim Lindsay, it's Jim Lindsay LinkedIn documentation file. Now I know that your fictional character is going to have another name. That's not what you put in here. You put your real name. So how would you do that? Easy enough. You go to open up Microsoft Word, create a new blank document, and you're going to call this, just go to File, Save As. I'll put this on my desktop. I'm going to call this Jim Lindsay LinkedIn documentation, and then save it. Now when I'm done, I'll submit this. Now how do you do a screenshot? How do you make a screenshot? I give you a link to a website here that tells you how to do this. I'll show you real quickly because this is a Windows personal computer, But you could do this project on any computer. I know some of you are Apple users, and I'm forcing you to put Parallels in place and use Microsoft Windows for Visio and for Publisher. But this is one thing where if you have a Mac and you want to do all this on your Mac, or you want to do all the Twitter stuff on your Mac, that's cool. That's fine. Doesn't matter. I can't help you with the screenshotting of the Mac, but I can show you real quickly on a PC. That window, that link right there, the takeascreenshot.org, that will help Mac people learn how to take a screenshot. But on a Windows PC, what you would do is this. Let's say I'm at a website here. Just go to msn.com up here. Let's say I wanted a screenshot of this website. All I have to do is hold down, look at your keyboard, and somewhere up on the function keys you're going to see something that's called print screen, PRNTSCRN, and it's either going to be a function or an alternate option. So on my keyboard, I hold down the FN, the function key, and hit that print screen. Then I go over to wherever I want to paste that image. In this case, I go to this blank Word document. I just paste it, Control V, to paste that. Again, if you want instructions on that in text, you have that instruction for you from that website right there. Once that picture is in place, you then need to caption it. Super important. So after the picture, this is a screenshot of msn.com on 21 June 2016. It shows the home page for that site. Why am I typing this, showing this to you, and then hit enter and you go to another line? In this set of instructions, I ask you to screenshot many things. You're going to end up with 6, 7, 8, 9 different screenshots depending on how you do it. And if you just give me pictures from the LinkedIn page with no explanation, I really don't know what you're talking about. And so you need to put the screenshot in there, then give an explanation, put a blank line, put your next screenshot right down here, and go on from there. Also put your name in the file. You've got the Jim Lindsay LinkedIn, you've got that up there as well. So that's how you create this documentation file. Save it, close it, and as needed, I would just keep this document on my computer, and as I completed this project, I would come back to this Word document and insert the screenshots as instructed. So that's the first step. Create your Word document and use that as your documentation. Now, the next thing you need is a Gmail account. Gmail accounts are free. You probably already have a Gmail account, so you probably know how to create a Gmail account. But if you don't, let me show you how to create a Gmail account. All right, I'm going to go to Microsoft. I'm going to go to Google. From Google, what you do, you just click on the link for Gmail, and it's going to say, okay, log in. And of course, I don't have I haven't created the identity yet, so that, this is the first step in creating your fake identity. So I'm going to click on create an account. It's going to say, okay, what is your first name, your last name, what email address do you want? And let me show you, let me go back to the Word document real quickly and show you what this stuff should be. So back in the Word document, if we scroll on down to the very last page, you'll see this table of characters here. You will find your name in this leftmost column, and to the right of your real name is what I want you to be with your fake identity. So Kristen, for example, should be Millicent Yarborough. Melissa should be Theodora Younts, and Christian should be Auden Lafon. And so these are really unusual names. I did searches for unusual last names, unusual first names, put those together, and that unusual combination of a first name and a last name should be combined to make a Gmail address that looks like that. Your Gmail account for this project should be, let's go with Maisie here. got Susanna Yates. It should be wku320.susannayates@gmail.com. So when she goes into this step in Gmail, that's what she should enter in here as what she wants for her address and her first name and her last name. And down here it's going to say, what is your current email address? Make that your real, WKU email address, or whichever one you check on a regular basis, because you can use that to recover the password for this account if you've forgotten it. You're going to need a mobile phone number. I'm sure you have a mobile phone. If not, then get a buddy that lives in the apartment with you or in your household, and what they'll do is they'll basically, as you create the account, they'll text you a code, and you have to put that in there to verify that you're a real person. And so that's how you create the Gmail account. Again, who should you create this Gmail account for? You should create the Gmail account for this fictitious person just to the right of your real name here. Now, also to the right of your real name, it talks about your birth state and birth city, and I've gotten those reversed. I can correct that. I tried to give you material here that you can, as you make up stuff about your person, I wanted you to have lots of ideas. So like, let's say Amber is Mirabelle Yoakley from Garland, Texas. Well, you could be like, you could kind of go into the whole Texas thing and do like cowboy and cowgirl kind of stuff, or you have a job as well. Off to the right of that is your fictional character's job. So we have everything from funeral director owners down to photojournalists to loan officers at banks to occupational therapists. And so you use this information to construct your LinkedIn profile. So that's how you that's the data that you use to create your Gmail account, which is over here. From Google, you click on Gmail and then you create this account. Hit the next step, and it prompts you and asks you a couple of questions, and it creates your Gmail account. All right, I've logged into Gmail with my characters. I have two characters that you'll interact with. One's named George, and the other's name is Susan. And this is what George's Gmail account looks like. You can compose emails and receive emails, etc. This is required just so, in order to make a LinkedIn account, you have to have an email address, and because we're doing this with fictional entities, it just makes the most sense to make a fake Gmail account. So that's the process. You create this Gmail account, and from here we can then move on to the next steps in the process. Okay, so I'm back in the Word document, the instructions. Let me come back up to our next step, and the next step is to watch the LinkedIn tutorial videos that are on Blackboard. Well, where are those? Let me jump into Blackboard here. On Blackboard, you'll see on the lessons page for Martian Manhunter, that's the module in which this stuff is contained, there's a folder called LinkedIn Training and Project Orientation. If I look at that, you're watching this video now, so you obviously you've gotten there. But underneath that link is one that's called LinkedIn Training, CIS 320 LinkedIn Training. What you see here, let me click on it to open it. It opens a new tab. It goes to this service called MediaSite, which is fairly new at Western. These are videos that I got from lynda.com. And I'm sure you've heard of lynda.com. I've mentioned it, I believe, in the personal information technology movie. We're talking about ways to self-train. Lynda is a great option for doing a lot of this self-training. So this stuff is a little bit, it's not cutting edge like just from yesterday. I realize that, but the content in there is solid and is good. And so I have 10 short videos I want you to watch from this Lynda training. You'll see that they're numbered 10 through 1. As I loaded those, I loaded 1 first through 10, and so as a result of that, it shows those to you It's showing you the newest stuff to old. If you want to get that to display in the the different order, all you have to do is click up here, show me the oldest stuff first to the new, and then there's the list of the videos. So this is stuff I got from lynda.com. It's very solid. What's awesome about this training from Lynda is that this guy who does the training for you, Mr. Colebrook here, he has this LinkedIn account that I can't duplicate. I mean, he has like hundreds of contacts, and he has like the premier version of this, and he does corporate training with this all the time, and so his examples are just tenfold better than the examples I could give you with my account or with my fictitious accounts that I create. As much as I would love to duplicate what he does in the classroom, he just does this at a national scale, whereas I can't imitate that. So I use his training because I think it's effective. And so watch these training videos. In these videos, you're going to learn how to create an account, what an endorsement is, what a recommendation is, how to input things like your experience from work, your education, all the things that you would want to include. Also, he's going to be talking about groups, how to join groups, how to interact within a group, how to do job searching, and that's the most important feature, I think, that you guys will take away from this training as a WKU graduate. You can follow companies, and you can follow individuals at companies, and you can also do job searches specifically within companies. It's almost as if you're a member of the military, and you're trying to collect intelligence about somebody you're trying to apprehend or engage. You can figure that stuff out in a business sense. You can collect that business intelligence, a lot of it through LinkedIn, and so that's the tremendous value, I think, of this personal information technology for you guys immediately. And so that's where the training comes from. Again, from the lessons page, Martian Manhunter folder, and you've got this LinkedIn folder. You click on that link for LinkedIn training. There they are. If you've used LinkedIn before, if you're pretty knowledgeable of LinkedIn, you'll be able to race through this really fast. If you've not used LinkedIn before, then you'll need to go through it more slowly. But as a result of that, you'll be able to complete these steps I'm asking you to complete in the rest of the project. Okay, so let's go back to the project. Here's the rest of that instruction. You've watched the tutorials, and next what you do is you create your account. Again, you're going to learn how to do that from the tutorials. Once you've created your account, again, you use your Gmail address to do that. You then develop your profile, and your character's profile is going to consist of work experience, education. You can talk about languages your character would know, skills that they would have. You're going to join a couple of different groups. So this is part of the process of using the site, and you get to make this stuff up. Again, I've given you a name, a birth location, I've given you a job, and you have a lot of latitude with that. My main goal is to make this so that you learn how to use the site and you interact with other people, but don't use your real information, so you don't basically do anything goofy that would hurt your chances for getting a real job later. So that's the fifth step. You develop your profile. You can use my characters, George and Susan, as guides. And how do you connect to them? Well, in step 6, you connect to my characters, George and Susan, and their profiles look like this. Let me go to their profile pages. This is George's, and George is the funeral home director. Everybody in this project is supposed to be out in Pasadena, California. You'll see that from the instructions right here. When you create your account for LinkedIn, you're supposed to use your zip code as 91103. That basically puts us all in the same geographic area. That will help with the creation of groups. That will help with our networking, because we're geographically supposed to be in the same part of the country. So here's George. He's the funeral director out in Pasadena, California. I have job experience for him. I have educational experience, language, skills, recommendations that he's given or received. You can see those right there. You can see connections that he has, and you can also see groups in which he is involved. And so likewise, I have another character named Susan White, and Susan's profile is over here. And by the way, I've got like these pictures that you use for the profile. You can use celebrities for those if you want, or you know, whoever you want to use pictures of as your character's profile picture. She is the same thing. She is a business owner. She has educational experience and so on. So use my characters as a guide for the bar to which I want you to rise. When people work on this assignment, good people are going to actually come up with even better profiles than mine. People that don't give this, they're all are going to end up with a really very incomplete profile. And so what am I expecting from you? At least what I've done. You know, if I've asked you to do it and I've gone out there and I've done it myself, and I expect you to be able to do the same thing. By the way, you can customize what your URL, your LinkedIn URL looks like, and there's two examples. So like WKU George Thompson is my URL at LinkedIn. Likewise for Susan White. So you can do that as part of your profile development as well. Once you've connected to my two players, which you will do through, you'll learn how to do in the videos. Then I want you to connect to each other in the class. We have about 14 people in the class, 13 people in the class right now, and 2 of your connections are going to be with me, and so that's going to leave 6 connections with other classmates. You can I think that's reasonable, and so 2 of your connections are going to be to George and Susan, and then 6 other people. How do you know who to connect to? Well, you're going to see as this project proceeds, as it goes through it's going to take. We've got a 2-week period of time to do this. About by the end of the first week, I'm going to have new contacts from the class. Basically, you're going to see Millicent Yarborough and Susanna Yates and Maribel Yoakley and Shepard York and Theodore Younce. I mean, you're going to see these people connected to me, to George and Susan, and through your connections with me, you can then send them connection requests. And so that's the easiest way for you to, and that's the way this works on LinkedIn as well. You'll have basically one first degree connection. You'll see that they have a connection, which if a connection of your first degree connection, basically a friend of your friend, is called a second degree connection. And so you can send a friend or a connection request to those second degree people, and your affiliation with the other person, with the first degree person, is kind of what gives you the in there. It's how you network. And so it's just like if you were at a conference or at a lunch event for the Chamber of Commerce and you saw your buddy Jim and he's sitting next to Susan. Well, you could go say, "Hey Jim, how you doing? It's good to see you today." And say, "Oh, hi, I'm Susie Q," and you could meet. You could introduce yourself to the person I'm sitting next to. It's the same process. It's just online. And so that's how you make those connections to each other from the class. You do that through their connections to me, which you'll see as time goes on. That's step number 7. Once you've made connections, you'll then need to endorse people. You learn how to do that through the training. That's when you're going to start making, you're going to have a screenshot of your endorsements. Anywhere you see this, insert screenshots and captions in the instruction sets, referring back to step 1, that's when you go back to that documentation file that you created and start to insert those screenshots. So you need to make endorsements for people. You also need to make recommendations for at least 2 people and screenshot that. Lastly, you need to join a group that I've created or George created called the Pasadena Partnership. What does that group look like? Well, I'm in George's profile here, and the group looks like this. It has a goofy logo I made. You may recognize that look there. That logo was created with Visio. this is what the group looks like. And so you'll join this group, and then within this group you'll participate in conversations, just like you would as a real live person being part of a group in LinkedIn. And so that's how this works. So you join the group. You also want you to join another group, and that can be like any other group. Like you'll see, like George is supposedly a graduate of Louisiana State University, and so you'll see under his education that he's supposed to have graduated from LSU back in 1990. And so one of the groups I had George join was the LSU, I don't know if it's an alumni group or just I like LSU, like a group of people that like Louisiana State University. So in addition to my group, I also want you to join a group that your character would be interested in. I have a thread in there that I want you to participate in, or to create your own thread about what's going on at the Pasadena Partnership. And there's also a job posting thread in there that I want you to participate in, or you can create your own job posting thread. So once that's done, you will have done all the steps of this project. At that point, once you've completed all the steps of this project, you're going to have a documentation file that has multiple screenshots with captions in there. Save it, close it, and then you submit that Word document for the documentation to the LinkedIn project on Blackboard. Where is that? On the syllabus, quiz, papers, and homework page of the Blackboard site. Down here at the bottom, you have the LinkedIn Hands-On Project. You would click on the LinkedIn Hands-On Project and browse out to your documentation file and then hit submit. So that's how you would submit your work for the hands-on part. Now there's also a reflection paper that's also listed on this page. Let me go to where you can see that. Here's the reflection paper right here. The way a reflection paper, this is the first one of these that you guys have done. This is a Word document, and read those instructions right there. But I'm going to just download this and open it. This is a Word document in which you will record your thoughts, and a little bit of research and answers to questions I'm asking. So this is that file, that LinkedIn reflection paper. I think I already had it. Okay, so let me get rid of that one. Looks like this. You open it up, and I ask you questions, and you type your answers to these questions in this reflection paper document. Note, please, a couple of things about this file. It's right there on my desktop. It says type your name here, LinkedIn reflection paper. What I want you to do there is to select that document and put your name in there. So you're going to save this with, so this is the Jim Lindsay reflection paper. Okay, I'm going to get multiple copies of these things, and so we have a smaller class now than I have during the semester, but still, when you're trying to grade a dozen or more of anything, having names on stuff is critical to helping your teacher stay organized. So put your name in the name of the file. When you open the file, up at the top in the header of it, I also want you to type your name there, because I'm going to print these things out. So you put your name up here. So there you go. And then in the document, you just type your answers. Now, excuse me. All right, working at home is awesome. Anyway, so the biggest mistake that students have made with reflection papers is this: they don't answer this or treat answers in this thing like it's a written assignment for a 300 level university class. They'll just type like one-word answers, or they'll type stuff in sentence fragments. They won't check their spelling. They won't check their grammar. It drives me crazy. And so this is supposed to be college level stuff. And so use the spelling checker, use the grammar checker, cite your reference. When you say your thoughts about something, say I think this because, give 4 examples. Say I found this at this particular website. If you actually want to insert references here, you can. And you don't have to go to the point of using like APA or MLA or Chicago or whatever, but cite where you're getting your information from. Do not copy and paste stuff from websites and put it in there as your answer. That's plagiarism. So like when I say what is a LinkedIn group, if you copy and paste from the LinkedIn help page of what a group is, guess what? That's plagiarism. You can say, hey, you can read that description from the LinkedIn help page. Say, I went to the LinkedIn help page, I found this information about LinkedIn groups, and then you give your own answer. That's acceptable. But this is a 300 level university writing assignment, and treat it as such. And so that's the most common mistake. And so there's 100 points total out of the reflection papers from this and for Twitter. There were in the spring as well. It wasn't unusual for people to have correct answers for both of those, but still come in with scores of like out of 100 points possible, scores in the 50s or the 60s, because the writing was terrible. So I'm not asking you to be William Shakespeare here, but be competent. When you graduate and you write things for work, people expect college graduates to write well, and so you have to demonstrate that. And you guys are really close to graduation, and as such, you have to demonstrate that you can write well. Okay, so let me go back to Blackboard and wrap this up. You have the hands-on portion, you have the reflection paper. Both of those are due at 11:59 p.m. Central Time on that date. And here's the thing. You get a 2-week, this is going to become available on July the 4th and then be available until the 17th. The good people are going to get this done in about 7 to 10 days. The people who are going to do a poorer job are going to wait until the end. Here's the danger. If you're waiting until the end, you have to make connections with people and do endorsements and do recommendations, and you have to get people to accept your connection requests. And if you're waiting till the last minute to do this, if you're trying to do all this on the 16th or the 17th, the good people are going to be gone, and you're going to be trying to connect with people that are probably not going to, they're probably kind of selfish and they're not going to connect with you anyway. And so the people that wait until the end usually do really badly. So my advice to you is get into this early, get working on it, check your account, and if someone sends you a connection request, honor it. Go ahead and join, make connections with them because they're in the same boat as you. So help people get up to their connection bar, which of 8 people, and when people are trying to do endorsements or recommendations, assist them with that. Within reason. Like if you've done your job, if you've written 2 recommendations and done endorsements, then you've done what you need to do. But just try to be a good citizen with this is my point. So that's where you find the projects, the instructions for all this stuff come from. You've just watched that, and the training for this stuff comes from what you see from this media site page. If you have questions, contact me. Be happy to assist you. But I look forward to seeing your work,